G'day YouTube. This video has taken me over a week to get started, simply because of the way my brain works. I have a number of different items in which I need to fit within this box, and there are several different ways that I can do it. So just to give you a bit of an idea, if we represent these lines here, the different things that need to go in the box, and these are the different permutations, the different things that need to be considered, things like electrical interference, physical size, placement for wiring, all those kinds of things. So all of these are basically permutations of how it can be done. I have a real problem getting started, finding out, well, where's the right spot to start. And I just keep going around and around and around in circles, trying to find that start point, and it drives me absolutely bloody crazy because my brain is trying to think about every single little thing that needs to go into it all at the same time, and it's just impossible to find a start point. So what I've decided to do is try to push all that noise out of my head for the time being, just take a couple of key items like the controller and the gigaback relay here and mount those. So I'm going to mount those first, and then I'm going to work out the rest from there. It's not a great plan, but unfortunately it's what I'm stuck with. One of the myriad of considerations is where the wiring should run. I looked at putting the controller in all sorts of different angles and directions, and I even originally was thinking of putting it over here. And what I think I will do is put the main power wires towards the back so that it's a little bit harder for the wires to come out. I need to factor in things like the main power switch, which is going to come over to the side here, and that I've got enough room for it to come around. I'm also thinking that I'm probably going to switch the negative rather than switching the positive power here, simply because if a negative comes off, it's just going to touch the earth and it's not going to matter. Whereas if I switch the positive, if one of these comes undone and touches the earth, well, then you're going to have some sparks. So that's my thinking. I think I'm going to place this in this orientation. The blunt drill caused my hole to walk ever so slightly, which in turn made the controller not perfect right angles to the case. By the third hole, I was fighting my OCD not to re-drill all new holes. Right about here I started thinking, where are the bolts going to pass through the lower bracket? The hole placement here was more down to luck than anything else. If I drill through there, it's going to wind up in the middle of here. And this is why plans sometimes go to shit. I was half hoping to put this switch over here, which is part of this circuit, but now that I have to move that across there, I'm going to have to move this further along. With having to mount the relay skew-if like I have, it's caused me dramas where I'm going to put these guys. Originally I wanted to put them in the corner here, or at least one of them in the corner. So now I'm going to have to move them more to the front here, like that. I can either put them one on top of the other or put them side by side. Then the starter button would probably go down the end there. I'm unsure what I'm going to do with the relay just yet, the relay board. I might put it on standoffs on the front. I may put it down here. I might even put it on this wall. I don't know just yet what I'm going to do with that. The fuse, well, that's obviously going to go external, so that's not an issue. The receiver, I've got to try to put it somewhere that's not going to be electrically interfered with, probably by these guys, so maybe fit it somewhere towards the front. I don't know. I've also got to think about the alternator and anything it might be sort of putting off. Battery elimination circuit has got to go in there somewhere. And the other main concern I have to think about is tapping the power off the right place, because obviously I need power to go to the main relay, which is going to power the controller, but I also need to tap power off for the relays, and I need that power to the relays to be constant, so I'll probably have to tap both powers off one side of the terminal here. And just like that, through the power of some YouTube magic, the switches are now fitted. I've spotted a couple of positions here where future switches are going to go. I'm thinking down this end I might have the engine kill switch, which will be a physical switch to turn it on and off. It will also be remotely controlled via one of the relays, as will the start button. It'll either start by remote and it'll also kill by remote. In these positions here, I'm thinking about putting switches for the linear actuators that are on the frame. On the inside, I've started the wiring. This 12AWG wire that I've got here probably isn't going to be heavy enough, so I'm going to order some heavier wire to do the main wiring circuit. I've decided that I might put the relays up here simply because they're very convenient for all of the switches to the individual relays that each of those needs to go to, and it'll also keep it out of the road of any future electronics that might sit in this position there. Fast forward again and I've fitted the relay bank. Now I need 5 volts DC to engage each of the relays here. The controller conveniently provides 5 volt DC, but the problem is that there isn't always going to be power available to the controller, because if I close this circuit here by engaging that or turn on one of the relays, then it will drop out this relay here, which in turn turns off the power. And if there's no power going to the relay, well, there's no way for the relay to engage and disengage it. So I need to have a separate 5 volts going to it, which will be courtesy of this BEC, which goes to the controller. And out of the controller, I'll run 2 wires for the ground and the power to the relay bank. So that's how this is going to get powered. I've also re-evaluated my decision to switch to negative, which I spoke about earlier in the video. I think I'll now switch positive rather than negative, simply because it simplifies the wiring a whole lot more. And where I would have to run a wire back here, if this was negative, I'd have to run a wire back to here. I can simply ground it back to the frame. And also that this would then become grounded to the frame and all the other electronics that need to be considered, like the alternator and all those other things. They can all be basically part of the same ground. And I can also put the ground strap on the battery directly to the frame, as opposed to having to run a ground wire up into this box and making sure that none of the grounds touched the frame if I went the opposite way. And that pretty much concludes the controller side of the wiring. In the next video, I'll mount the switches that need to be put in down the bottom there and just finish up the rest of the wiring. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.